here's a familiar shape, and here's a familiar name. But it's made in Indonesia. And there's one thing that people are concerned about. Is it worthy of the name Fender? Let's find out. If it quacks like a Squier and if it looks like a Squier, is it just a Squier? I mean, with a Fender decal on the headstock. See, some people are concerned about these new Fender guitars made in Indonesia at the same exact factory where Squier guitars are normally made by the same exact workers that normally make Squier guitars. People are asking, are these new Fender guitars just Squier guitars with a decal that says Fender? Well, by the end of this video, you will know the answer to this question. There's an old Chinese proverb that says, if you change all the employees at a company, it's a new company. So what does this mean for Fender guitars made at the actual Fender factory? I mean, none of the workers from the 1950s work there. So are the new workers making actual Fender guitars or just copies? Whew, that's deep. Welcome back to Guitar Quackery. Now, let's have a close look at this bad boy from Indonesia. I picked this one off the wall at a guitar store. So it was a display model, but just lightly played. Okay? And I didn't get to play it much. I am going to show you the guitar from all sides. So this is the back. You can kind of see it's been played a little bit. But like I said, not much. I'm going to go over everything first with close-up camera. So where should we start? This is a Laurel fingerboard. Let's look at the alignment of the strings. Yeah, it's symmetrical. On some Fender guitars, we can see one of the two sides being too close to the edge. This isn't happening here. And it feels like, this feels really good. I have no issues with fret sprout whatsoever. I don't feel any fret sprout. Now the humidity right now in the space is 59%, according to my $20 hygrometer. What else? We have a nut, like, you know, this is it. I see a little spillage right there. It's a micarta nut, okay? Oh, we have a walnut plug. I'm not sure if it's walnut. It looks like this, so maybe Indian laurel, not walnut. I don't know. These tuners, the logo looks like this. All right, so black logo. And this guitar is called, right here, there's a sticker. So let's see what it says. Fender Standard Series. And they say the standard is set, made in Indonesia. Okay, so we want to remember that. So whatever we see on this guitar, according to the label, is the new standard. It says right here. Standard Series, the standard is set. Okay. So let's have a close look at this new standard. It doesn't look bad. Okay, but we're going to go over everything with a fine-tooth comb, like we always do. So now let's have a look at the saddles here. So the bridge looks different. So this is, I guess, the new standard. These are the saddles. So I am happy about this. So, oh, this screw is protruding a little bit, but they're all either flush or recessed. These saddles look like not brushed metal, but whatever you call this, sandblasted maybe. It's been set up as a floater, maybe a little higher than what we're used to seeing, but it works. It's got these pickups. Now these pickups are now called standard. Okay, so if you go on website where these guitars are sold, they call it Fender standard pickups. Okay, because they say the standard is set. Why don't we turn it over and look at the back? Like I said, it's been lightly played because it was a display model, but I don't see any scratches. We're going to remove this anyway. So we have, it looks like a thick trem block inside, not like a Squier. That's the plate. We're going to remove it later. That's this plate. It doesn't say Fender on it, by the way. And now we're looking at the neck. So one thing that I always like to look at is the wood grain. So this looks like a randomly picked piece of wood, like we see on Fender guitars all the time. It's a rift sawn piece. Okay, so we see the growth rings in this direction like that, which means that in this case, the growth rings are going at an angle like that. I'm going to estimate it like a 30-degree angle. We see it here as well. All right. So this means that this is neither flat sawn. So flat sawn would be parallel to the fingerboard, nor is it quarter sawn, which would be at a 90-degree angle from the fingerboard. And here we have the tuning machines, standard Fender tuning machines. You see the serial number here. It says made in Indonesia. Okay. I am going to remove the back plate, and then we'll have a closer look and we'll take some measurements. When these Indonesian-made Fender electric guitars were first launched on January 23rd, 2025, people were freaking out. How can a Fender electric guitar be made in Indonesia and be called a Fender? But is this really the first time that we see a Fender electric guitar made in Indonesia? Here you can see the name of the company. Now let's turn the guitar around this way. Flip it over. And we'll look at the back of the headstock. Here you can see where it was made. And here there's a clue, serial number ICF22. Wonder what that means. Well, let's have a look at this. Here you can see when it was made. Oh, I didn't know that. So that Fender guitar was made in Indonesia in 2022. And this guitar was made in 2024, but it was launched in January 2025. That makes sense because the serial number here says ICF, same three letters we saw on the other guitar, 24. So what do these letters mean? ICF. I means Indonesia. C means that it was made at the Court factory. And F means that it's a Fender branded instrument, which it is. So they've had a couple of years to practice. So let's see how well this guitar is made. We got everything we need on this workbench to examine this guitar. We want to see what the good people of Indonesia have been doing at these factories. Have they earned the privilege to make a guitar that we are going to call a Fender? Well, we'll find out. Like I said, I removed the back plate. It's right here. We're looking at the springs and the trem block, so looks good. You know, it looks kind of like a cheaper piece of metal. Maybe this wire is a little too long for my taste. I don't like it when it's touching the springs. It can cause some squeaking, you know, like the squeaky springs of a mattress of the upstairs neighbors. Neighbors, as in plural. Two of them. Two or more. I don't know. So, here we go. Where should I start? As I said before, I'm actually very pleased to see that the screws aren't sticking up. I wonder how it's going to set up if we set it up decked. Because on every Fender guitar that I remember working on, we need to tilt the neck a little bit just to bury the screws. I like these saddles. I know some people are going to complain about them, but I like them. Why don't we start with, well, how about we start with the neck relief? So here's our straight edge, and we have feeler gauges somewhere over here. Okay, so we just put the neck rest all the way here so we don't add to the relief of the neck. And let's start with, how about this one? 11/1000ths of an inch. Does it fit? No. Okay, so let's switch over to this one, 8/1000ths. It does fit. So just want to make sure we document this. This is in fact 8/1000ths of an inch. So now I'm going to put this over here, right there, 8/1000ths. Switch over to this camera, that's the one. And we'll see if the same one fits on the other side. So here it does, and the bigger one, 11, does not. So we don't have a differential relief. We have a symmetrical fingerboard, which is good. Next thing, it's supposed to be a 9.5 inch radius fingerboard and frets as well. This is a 9.5 inch radius gauge. So let's place it under the strings, like that, over here. And let's take a feeler gauge. So right now I'm just verifying that the fingerboard is or isn't 9.5 inch radius. So I cannot fit the feeler gauge anywhere in between. So we just confirmed that the fingerboard is in fact 9.5 inch radius. Now I'm just going to pick a random fret and place the radius gauge on top of the random fret, which in this case happens to be the 10th fret. Let's zoom in a little bit so we can see it better. Just like that is fine. Okay, and now once again we take our very thin feeler gauge. We try to place it between the radius gauge and the fret. It doesn't fit in the middle. Does it fit here? It doesn't. It doesn't fit here either. So this means that the fret radius matches the radius of the fingerboard. Let's see if they're seated. Just a little bit of a gap here. How about here? No. So they are slightly over radiused, which is actually a good thing so that the string doesn't get caught here. Now, this is actually very good. This is much better than what I typically see on a Mexican Fender. and even on the non-Mexican Fenders. I measure the radius of the frets every time I work on a guitar. And I can tell you that I always find, not always, but more often than not, 95% of Fender guitars, unless they're custom shop, they have over radius frets, okay, which is not what we want, because we want a 9.5-inch radius, because that's going to allow us to put the action low, so that we don't fret out when we bend the strings. So when you bend the string, if you bend it over a hump, if that's too curved, you might fret out. You need to raise the action a little bit, probably more than you want, and only then can you. So I didn't measure the action here just yet, just for fun. Let's see. It's about 71 thousandths and 85. Okay, so it's a little bit higher than we want. I want it at 60, not at 70. I'm sure it's going to work. Okay, now let's have a look at the nut. So the nut material is micarta, okay? And we want to see how the string slots were cut, and we also, as in how they were shaped, and also the height. So let's start with the height, maybe. Here, we see the first couple of frets. First thing we want to do is make sure that we don't have a high fret here. We don't, okay? Because we're going to use these frets to measure the height. So what we want to do is we want to confirm first that there is, maybe this feeler gauge here, that there is a little gap left between the fret and the string after we push the string against the second fret. So there is a gap here, gap, 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 and gap. Okay, and now we want to take a measurement of this gap. So I'm going to show you from this side using a dial indicator. You can think of it as a micrometer, which you see right there on the bench. We're going to use it right now. It's this thing over here. So this is a dial indicator. When you push this, the dial moves, and it has check marks. I like the nut to be as low as possible, as close to 0 as possible. So maybe 2 check marks, maybe up to 5. So which would mean 2 check marks would be the height of 20 microns. Okay, so that's the leftover height, which we can call the nut relief, not the nut action, right? So if we place it here on the first string and we fret it down against the second fret, this is what's left. Hold on. Just a little bit of relief. That's great. And on the B string, I can't even measure it. So sometimes you need to add a little tension to the string so that the string can push it back. Look at that. So minimal relief. The G string, just a little bit. The D string, a little bit. That's great. And that's too high. But yeah, we did check the B string before. Let's check it again. it does have a little gap. It's so minimal that I couldn't even pick it up with this. So I'm going to say that as far as the height goes, somebody really did a good job. So now let's look at the shape of the string slots, the individual string slots. So we're going to remove the strings from the string slots and look. Okay, we need just a little bit of light, and here we are focusing on this string. So yes, so I do see this little spillage of glue there. This looks like super glue. So that's a little sloppy, but let's look at this. So let's remove this string. So okay, so that's not the best job. So we see a witness point at the back of the nut. We really want to see it here. And this one was too high, so we'll be able to reshape this string slot. Just file it down at the back. Maybe it's still going to remain high at the front. And then we just lower it a little bit. Let's put the string back. And let's examine. Oh, and another thing so let's just see if it wiggles inside. No, that's fine. Okay. So now we are looking at the A string. Well, there's a little wiggle. So let's see when we play the string. Yeah, I can see a little vibration inside the nut. So it's vibrating from about here, not from here. And we want to see, yeah, so once again, it's just not shaped correctly. As you can see, there are no metal deposits right here at the tip. So it was vibrating inside and depositing all these metal deposits. We want to file it at the back, lower, maybe reshape it a little bit. I think we can fix this. Okay, so not ideal. And now let's look at this one. That's the D string. Let's see if it wiggles inside. You can see a little motion. Same thing when we play it. And now look inside. This is what we find. So again, I want to reshape it. So I don't know how they cut this, but it's cut too straight. Again, I feel that we can fix this. I don't think this will be a problem because although they're low, we still have a little bit of distance left over so we can fine-tune this. Okay, let's have a look at the G string right here. Here it is. Let's see. Again, we see that it wiggles a little bit. And we basically see the same thing. So too much pressure at the back. We want to make sure that all the pressure is at the front. Another thing that I'm seeing right here is that it seems like it's been shaped maybe a little more like a V shape instead of a U shape. Not sure. Let's put the string back. Now, as you recall, the B string was really, really low. So I'm going to remove it from the string tree. No, actually, before I do that, let's see if it wiggles inside. It's pretty good. But again, I just want to hit it at the back end. Okay, we put it back. And now we look at the high E. It does seem to wiggle a little bit inside of the string slot. Here's when we play it. So let's remove it. So we kind of need to make it just a little bit tighter. So if the string wiggles inside of the string slot, it can cause a little bit of sitar buzz sometimes. And obviously, you are extending the scale length by a small amount, which means it might affect the intonation of the guitar, because now you've just extended the scale length by a little bit, a small amount. The frets are where they are. So how do you adjust the compensation? I don't know. So sometimes it can affect the intonation. Next, we want to check if there is a neck twist. So we're going to sight down the neck, and we're going to use a stirring stick to check. I'm going to adjust the camera position here. So this is as if we're sighting down like this, right? And what I do first is I take a stirring stick, just like this one. It needs to be straight, and place it here. We need to make sure that it's not too tight so that the strings aren't pulling it in either direction. And now we just sight down the neck. So here I'm changing focus. Now it's focused on the stirring stick. Let's reposition the guitar just a little bit. Like that. And now you can see that it's aligning perfectly with the body, which means we don't have any kind of neck twist. If we had a neck twist, it wouldn't be aligning with the body. Now, this is an Indonesian-made Fender, and it's using a metric size Allen key for the truss rod adjustment. So this is a 4mm, and that's what fits inside. Okay. So not a 1/8 of an inch, it's a 4mm. Okay, that's a nice tight grip. Now we want to make sure that it's adjusting. So let me loosen it a little bit just to feel that it's right, and let me just tighten it now. Okay, so we remove it, or we can just leave it for now. And now we want to go back and make sure that it adjusted that relief. Now we had 8/1000ths of an inch, so we'll start with that. The truss rod feels okay. Right? So we had 8/1000ths, it no longer fits. So now 6/1000 fits, and that's what we have. So here we go, 6/1000ths of an inch. Here's the number. We focus on it. Okay. So that works. What else? Nothing. I think this guitar will take a good setup. Well, there is one more thing I want to look at. We can look at it now, or we can look at it when we remove the strings. Like I said, I don't feel any fret sprout, but let's remove the strings, and then we'll look at the frets, and we'll also look at the electronics. Well, so far, it looks pretty good. And yeah, I gotta tell you something. This channel, Guitar Quackery, is a consumer advocate channel. This means that when I review guitars, I don't get them from the manufacturers or from the retailers or distributors, nothing like that. This is a guitar that I bought with my own money, okay, for myself. And now I'm just reviewing it for you. So that, or if my customers happen to buy a new guitar and they bring it over for a setup, I'll review the brand new guitar. So if you like these kind of non-sponsored reviews, yeah, just make sure you come back. So click, click, click. If you feel that you are benefiting from this, you can also help the channel a little bit. You can buy me a coffee. There's a link below that says buy me a coffee. There's also a super thanks button. You can click on that as well. No, you don't have to do any of that. We're still friends. But if you do, it really helps this channel so I can do more. All right. So now let's go back to the workbench because I got more to show you. We're ready for the final exam. All right. I removed the strings like that, and I removed the 3 springs, which means now I can remove the entire bridge assembly. One thing that I want to mention is the string spread on this bridge. It is 2 1/16 of an inch string spread, because when I was reviewing the new standard is called the standard telly, it had a 2 3/16 inch string spread. And check out the review of that guitar on this channel. You will see why that's not a good thing, okay? So another thing that I want to point out is many people don't know why there's a sticker here. So let's remove the sticker and let me show you. There should be a spring inside that everyone loses. There it is. Okay. So that's, a bad design, really, if you ask me, because everyone loses the spring. So when you remove the whammy bar, it falls out. But this is why they put the sticker here at the factory. I'm going to put the bridge here. Next thing we want to look at are the frets. I'm going to use the fret rocker, go over all the frets, and we'll find out if we have any uneven frets. So the fret rocker is right here. That's the tool. So just for those of you who do not understand how this works, when you put it over 3 frets, if it's steady, it only means one thing, that this fret between the 2 adjacent frets isn't higher than the 2 adjacent frets. So I'm going to shim the middle fret now. Now we can see and we can hear that it's rocking, because now I just made the middle fret higher, but now it's not rocking. So let's go over all the frets. No rocking, no rocking, no rocking, nothing yet. I kind of like to wiggle just to make sure that I'm giving it a fair chance to rock, if it's going to rock. Nothing. Look at that. So not only is this a true 9.5-inch radius fretboard, as in the frets are correctly radiused, I am not finding any uneven frets yet. And this is the first time that I'm doing this. All right. So, okay. The good people of Indonesia, the good hardworking people of Indonesia, if you're watching this, thumbs up. Look, I gotta show it like it is. Okay, now, speaking of the frets, let's see. We want to look at the fret ends. Like I said, I don't feel any sharpness at all at 50, oh, now it's 60% humidity. But let's look at the fret ends. Let's see how they finished them up. So here it's a bit dark, and it's a bit out of focus, and it's a bit zoomed in. So that's the nut. So this is one of the frets, the first fret. So you can see that they filed the little corner right there. Okay, so that's, you know, a good thing, right? They just wanted to make sure that we don't feel that sharp little corner. They filed it probably on the other side as well. The fret end itself is, you know, left a little rough. I just see tool marks on the file. I don't think they really sanded it, but they did polish the top of the fret because this is all rounded. Now let's look at the second fret. Once again, they hit it with a file. Now, it looks like they hit it on this side more than on the other side. And here there's a little piece of metal that's left. Let's look at the third fret. I think they filed it a bit better. And I want to show you what kind of file would be used for this job. So I have various files. So this is one possibility. This one is the Fret Guru brand. So I'm going to now just show you just like that. Okay, so this now takes away that little corner. Okay, just gently, right? So now that's the second fret. Let's see how I did. We're going to put it under the microscope again, right there, second fret. Where are you? Here. And here it is. So if you recall, there was a little corner left, and now I just filed it a little bit. So we're being picky now, but under the microscope, I can improve it a little further like that. Okay. So that's it. The important thing is that they really took their time to do this, and I feel absolutely no sharpness. Let's look at a couple of frets on the bass side as well. We're just too zoomed in here. So, and as you can tell, they also plugged the edges so that you don't see the fret tangs. And it actually looks shinier on the bass side. Okay, but no protruding frets. Okay, no fret sprout whatsoever. So that's what I said. This new standard is set. Okay, so that's the new standard. Okay. Now, in terms of fret polish, let's look at just one of the frets. We have right here. It looks shiny. Not bad at all. They did buff it. Okay, so buffing did take place. This is the entire fret. I'm impressed. Okay. They did all this extra work for you and for me. For me, I bought this guitar. By the way, I bought this guitar. This is my guitar. Okay. We looked at the frets. Why don't we look at the nut through this microscope? This will allow me to show you the nut from the side, which is always interesting. You're ready. There it is. So again, it's a micarta nut. Material is micarta. This is flush, nice and flush. There seems to be a little gap. It seems like they super glued the nut inside into the fret. I'm sorry, not the nut shelf. A little bit of squeeze out there. And this one is not completely flush. It looks like maybe the wood grain expanded. So it may be, you know what? This is very interesting. So this would indicate that they have probably some kind of humidity control at the factory. So Indonesia is a humid country. So let's think about that. If they assemble this guitar in a humid environment and they install the nut and then they do all the sanding, it's going to be flush at that time. So if the guitar is assembled as such in a humid environment, when it's shipped to a dry environment, maybe Arizona, I don't know, the wood is going to shrink and the nut is going to be protruding a little bit. And the frets as well, you're going to get fret sprout. But here we see the opposite. We see that, I want to show you this again. I'm discovering this as we speak, and I am pleasantly surprised to see what I'm seeing. Here, let's talk about this. So we can clearly see that the wood expanded. So this would lead me to believe that they actually assembled this in a drier environment, and then the wood expanded here, as in here. So it appears that there's a possibility that they are taking the extra step to ensure that you don't get fret sprout by maintaining some kind of humidity control. Now, I'm just speculating. I don't really know that to be the case, but I see that the wood expanded because I know for a fact that the side of the nut was sanded along with the neck itself. Very interesting. Okay. What else do we want to look at? Now it's time to remove the pickguard. Okay. So it seems like one of the wires is a bit short. I haven't looked inside yet. This is the first time I'm removing this. It seems like one of the wires is a bit short. It seems to be this wire, maybe. Yes, okay. So here. It's routed for humbuckers. And this is shielding paint. It's connected to ground. Look at this. So, interestingly, when I was reviewing the Tele, it had the box switch, the little PCB here, like this one, the cheap import switch. And this one seems to have a better, so those are alpha pots. You know, I need to show you a close-up of this. We want to look at their work and also the components. So here we see alpha pots, not CTS pots, alpha. Focus, focus. There's the wiring. I think the wiring is okay-ish. And the soldering is also fine. Yeah, it's fine. So the wires are just too long, I think, right? And those are the pickups, ceramic pickups. Now, what is this? I just found this inside. It was stuck to the pickup. So this is, I don't know. It's not supposed to be there, but it was there. and they use springs, not tubing. Look, it's nice and neat. The wires are a little bit too long for my taste. Now we want to look at the jack. So let's put this back. So this is too long. The jack. All right. It's not the good jack. It's the cheap import jack. What we want to see in a Fender is switchcraft, this one. Okay, and I already knew that this was the cheap jack because of the way it looks here. Okay, so you can see the difference. This nut is more robust, and this one is a thin ring nut. And we don't want to see this short little thing. That's the cheap jack. So I would immediately replace the jack. I would upgrade it. I would put a switchcraft jack. The jack is in fact one of the most important components, electrical components of any electric guitar, because if that fails, the guitar doesn't work. If that happens during a gig, well, you can't play the guitar. So that's what I would do. And that's, I think, what I'm going to do. Yeah, I mean, the guitar's already here. Okay, now the bridge posts are like this. Focus. Now I see that the finish cracked a little bit here. You can see that. I don't know why it did that. It's not peeling off yet. Will it peel off? I don't know. But that's what happened. There's also a little crack in the finish here. Now that I removed the plate, I can see it here as well. Okay. Another test that I want to do, why is this not coming out? Is because of this wire. So that hole is a little tight. We want to take a multimeter and we're going to test this paint. So this is a shielding paint. So if we put the one probe here and one probe on the other side, I measure 3.8 kilo ohms. So, you know, it's not the best. It kind of works. Okay, so we can improve that if we want to upgrade the guitar a little bit. Okay, let's put it back together. Am I forgetting anything? I don't think so. I think we've seen enough. I'm sure there's more to look at, but you get the gist. You know, I'm still not convinced that this is a true Fender. I mean, I can see that it says Fender, but I want to compare it to an actual Fender, one that cannot be disputed that it is a Fender. That's what I want to see. Let's have a look at the fret ends on this guitar. As you can see, this one is nice and sharp. You can use it to shave the edge of your guitar pick in case your guitar pick edge needs shaving. And this one is the same way. And so is this one. In fact, they're all like that. This is also a nice feature in case your hand has the tendency to slip off of the edge of the fretboard as you play. It prevents that from occurring. And this guitar is also made by Fender. Yeah, that's what I thought. I mean, they can obviously put the Fender logo on the headstock and they make it look like a Fender, but you know, when it comes to those fine little details, well, they missed. Can't fool me. It doesn't even feel like a real Fender. I'll tell you what I really think. I think this is a good guitar. And I think that our friends in Indonesia are really trying to do a good job. I mean, they really want to keep that contract. So they're not going to mess around. I showed you this guitar up close and personal, and I'd like to hear your opinions. That's what the comments section is for. And you know what else I would like? I would like to see you back on this channel watching some future video in the future. Or you can watch some past video in the future. So, I'll see you soon.